Hi, this is Coach Brian with the YMCA. Thank you for your time. This is the second review video for this week. We'll focus on our zone defense and some of our pressure situations. I think we had 11 of our 22 or 23 kids miss one of the two practices last week. So undoubtedly there's a few concepts that were lost. I want to just try to create a quick video that would cover all the defensive areas. Number one, you're going to see me on the sideline. Screaming either base or strong. That's what I'm going to call our two zone defenses. Base being our base defense will be in most often, I would expect, will be a 3-2. The strong defense will be a 2-3. So understand when you come to practice the difference between base and strong. Let's talk about the reasons why we're here and how it would change. The premise is that if we're in base defense, they've only got one person playing in the post area. So we're matching perimeter strength with perimeter strength and still have an advantage down low. So that's our base. If they were to sneak in a second guy, this is when you might hear me saying drop or base. One of these two will absolutely know while they're in the game whether they are the dropper. So in other words, the center or myself notices they're sneaking in a second guy. You hear us call drop. And one of these two forwards will know that they're the dropper. They'll come down here. He'll shift over here. And he'll shift over here. We'll easily and quickly shift into a strong defensive set or a 2-3. The guards have to pay attention to this because if we go from base to strong, their areas of responsibility have changed greatly. Let's talk about individual responsibilities in this base defense. First, let's talk about the center guard. He has the absolute worst and most impossible task. You'll be running all day in this position, and I would expect we'll rotate the people playing the spot throughout the game. So the center guard has responsibility from wing to wing. So if the ball is over here and you're right here, you've got to get to it quickly, and you have responsibility for it. If the ball switches back over here, you're coming right back over here, and you again have responsibility. They move it over here. You now have to come over here, and you have responsibility for the ball. It's absolutely brutal. You all have practiced it. You understand what it means, and we'll be rotating that job throughout the day. So we got the center guard we just talked about. Let's talk about the wings. If in a situation the ball gets passed over to this wing, we just said the center guard will come and take the ball. The wing has got to wait to hear slide. You've got to hold. You can't just run as soon as the ball comes here. You've got to wait and possibly engage that guard until the center guard comes over and releases you and says, slide, slide. At which point, you will check to see if is there somebody in the corner. If there is, you'll come down here about halfway between them and the basket and defend them. Defending baseline, defending the whole position or that whole zone. If there isn't somebody over there, then you'll just take a step or two back, and in case this guy takes a run, you'll be prepared to engage him. But essentially, your role here, once he asks you to slide, is check if there's someone in the corner. If there's not, just sit back. And if there is, drop down and cover him. So it's very important, wings, that you hold, that you don't automatically race off as soon as the ball is passed in front of you. Wait for the guy to get here, tell you to slide. Your zones on the wings have changed. In a 2-3 or in our strong defense, they're much different than in base. You have this whole area of responsibility. Again, a big piece of real estate. So understand that in our base defense, these wings have responsibility for the entire baseline. This is yours. You've got to cover it. Equally important is you have trapping responsibilities. So if you're here, he's here, the ball comes over here, the ball comes over here, you're going to lead the trap between you and our forward or center down below. So it's key because he can't go unless you go. Equally important is for the backside wing. This guy will have rotated here, you will have rotated here, that when the ball is in the corner, the backside wing has to sit here and help the other post player that was helping the other guy that ran off. So again, very important. In our base 3-2, if the ball gets down to the corner, you've got to come and help in the lane. If the ball reverses out, you've got to come here to over here and join the zone. So those are the responsibilities for the guards and wings. Let's talk very quickly about the responsibilities for the big men. Most importantly, as we said, there's only going to be one post player if we're going to be in this base defense. So unlike the strong defense, where the backside bigs have responsibility for the offensive post players, in our base defense, there's only two of you here. Whatever side the big guy's on, then you have him if he's on your side. So there is no reason, if he comes out over here in the short corner, outside the short corner, take like a quarter of a step and that's it. I don't want you really outside the lanes ever. If he comes back in, then you re-engage him. So let's talk about the two types of situations where our bigs will leave the middle of the lane. Say that looks like this. Number one, we already talked about it. The ball goes down here. Even though he's guarding somebody, he's watching the wing. Once the wing goes and attacks the ball, he's going to attack the ball, and we're going to try to trap the ball there. We already said, any trap, the backside wing will come and provide some support. The opposite forward, even though he's not on your side, once your buddy vacates the trap, you've got to go and engage this offensive post player. So it's very important, that rotation, that shifting. If you don't have somebody and you see the ball go down there, you've just got to notice and recognize that you have the potential to help out. The second situation where we said the bigs will leave the lane is where there's maybe some dribble penetration. So let's say he's engaged on the post player. Our forward, who's part of the zone right now, gets burned, and this guy's coming with a head of steam. You absolutely can leave a step or two outside the lane to attack the ball. Again, understand that the backside big can't be sleeping. You got to know the ball is over there. You'll probably actually be right about here. If he's manned up on him, you should be around the basket. So as soon as you see your buddy take off, you've got to engage this guy. I'm telling you that the ability to shift, to rotate, to understand what's going on, you cannot be sleeping in this situation. You've got to be paying attention. And once your partner goes, you need to know that you need to go and pick up where he is left off. Let's talk real quickly about the strong defense, what I'm calling strong, which is the 2-3 zone. A couple pieces to this where we know that we're in a strong defense whenever there's two offensive post players. If one guy were to leave and come out here, we know it's really easy to shift and create this 2-3 into a 3-2. But let's assume that he's staying in here and he's engaged and they've got two post players on the offense. I'm sure we all remember if the concept of front side and back side, if the ball comes out over here, he is the front side forward. As such, he is going to step out and participate in the perimeter zone. If there's somebody out here, because this guy would have rotated, he's going to check to see if there's someone in the corner. If he is, just like with the 3-2, he's going to set up shop here. If there wasn't anybody in the lane, there wasn't anybody in the corner, he's the ball side forward. He's going to take a couple steps and be prepared to enter the zone. The backside guys have responsibility for the bigs. As we said, the ball is going to shift back and forth. Now that it's over here, the person that was this forward now has to become part of the zone. This is a struggle for us, going from the backside to the front side forward. I know this guy is thinking if I leave him, he's going to be wide open. And you're right, he is. Which is why our center is going to have to come over here and pick this guy up. And why the forward that was part of the perimeter zone now has to come back and play man-to-man in the post. This is the idea that I talked about in transitions, about shift. Someone's got to say, shift, 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 so that everybody knows that our responsibilities have just changed. This is really, really key. Yeah, I saw some weird things during our scrimmages. They might be a post player that came here and sitting right here. So he's kind of sitting high. Listen, as the post player, if you're the post guy, I want you, with the strong defense being a 2-3, you can take a step or two outside the lane, and you can have a step or two off him. He's way out in no man's land. The moment he gets a step within the lane, you're going to be all over him. I want you engaged, fronting that person, denying any kind of ball into him. So I just noticed there was some struggles in that shift where maybe the ball swang from here to here. Our guy was engaged right here, but he wouldn't, like I said, he was reluctant to let him go. If this is going to work, we got to play as a team. We've got to communicate. In this situation, unlike our base or 3-2, the forwards, front side forward, are going to run the responsibility of initiating the trap. With only 2 guards up here, they're not going anywhere until they see our forward starting to trap, and we're going to trap then. So the burden of trapping shifts to that front side forward. Interesting thing for the center is, he's always going to have somebody in the strong defense. It doesn't matter if the ball's over here or the ball's over here. He's either always going to have this guy or always going to have that guy. That's it. So if you're the center, understand that you will always be engaged, fronting somebody, around the lane if you're going to be the center in our strong 2-3 defense. We talked a little bit about some challenges we had during our first practice where, we were just kind of standing straight up right next to a guy that was in the lane. That was around the lane. We've got to be engaged, guys. If he's within a foot of the lane, 2 feet in our strong 2-3 defense, if he's right here, let's go ahead and engage him. Again, it got a little better. So the back line bears the responsibility of communication. I expect that a center or forward is going to be calling, shift, or maybe to tell him to drop, or calling, base or strong. So the back line has a ton of responsibility for communication. In order to be successful, we've got to have that work.